You light a candle. That candle burns the wick burns the wax melts down the candle and onto the candle tray, I guess you'd call it, the candlestick holder, and then forms something new, something different, a new mold, if you will. And if you were to take that same candle or fire and that same wax and melt it and pour it over my face and let it dry and harden, you would have a cast of me, of my body, right?
Yeah, that all tracks.
Okay, well then,
I think that's all science.
Okay, well that's how candles work, is what I just described,
Yeah.
and how wax functions. But that is kind of the premise to one of the main features we'll be talking today, which is the sort of 2005 remake of called House of Wax, which is a remake of Mystery of the Wax Museum, which I've never seen.
Yeah, I was about to ask. That's because it's from the 50s, right?
Yeah. But that is the premise of that film, which, and then, you have other movies with wax. Waxwork is the one that comes to my mind. Or movies where...
Waxwork 2.
Yeah. Who could forget? Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the 2005 film House of Wax. But before we get to that, what's up? How's it going?
Huh, not much. Just living. Look at this. It's like 2 weeks in a row we've done this.
3 weeks in a row, technically.
Oh God!
Because we did the shorty. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a little shorty. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
But there's a sequence in this movie, and this is like what I wanted to ask you, because manscaping and everything has become more normalized in our time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene in this movie where he's basically given the guy a brow treatment before he kills him. And I was just wondering, have you ever been waxed?
Yeah, I have actually been waxed. Not
Really?
Not professionally.
Oh, well, for fun?
No,
right, there's a story there.
Not for fun either. My sister tried to wax my body. This is a weird story now. At a party one time, I don't know. There was like a elephant. It was a Christmas party, and there was like a white elephant gift, and somebody had like a waxing kit, and my sister thought it'd be funny to wax me, and so she put a very 40-year-old version style of like you put it on and you rip it off.
Yeah, is it as bad as they lead you to believe?
Yeah,
pain-wise?
I mean, it didn't feel good. I'll say it didn't feel good. Yeah.
I'm always curious because I hate my hair. Like I shave basically myself from the neck down everywhere, which is a lot of work because I'm basically naturally a gorilla, like Bigfootish. So I wonder about the cost benefit of all of that, especially like in the nether regions. Like, is the pain worth the effort, you think?
I don't. Not for me. Again, it wasn't like a birthing of a new kink for me, or like something that was revolutionary. But well, now there's like other. There's, of course, you can use the toxic waste that is Nair. You can wax it. You can shave it. You could trim it with like a trimmer, or you can get like laser removal. Right.
Yeah,
those are kind of
your
options.
Like that takes forever, right? The laser removal takes like several visits, and it's expensive, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, neither here nor there. I just didn't know, like, if it makes your hair go away for longer, or what's this whole fad about? That's what I got out of this movie when they were giving him a brow treatment. It got me thinking, because that seems kind. Like he was about to murder this person, but he was giving him like a pretty expensive spa treatment there for a little while.
Yeah, well, and he does a very good job. Like he just. Well, okay, so we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but we did talk about waxing. But yeah, there is that scene. I think that's the only time I've ever had a wax. So you've never done the waxing?
No, I don't really enjoy pain. Like I was in my 40s before I decided to finally get a tattoo, just because of pain. I don't enjoy pain. I tend to avoid it. So there's got to be like the benefits got to be real high for me to consider doing that. So I'm interested. So anyone listening, if you have waxing pros and cons, send them on in, because I'm interested.
I don't remember it hurting a lot.
Well, like he didn't seem to enjoy it. But
Yeah.
I guess he was
Well,
about to
I
get
don't
murdered.
think I think on your face it's gonna hurt no matter what you do, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't want you to wax my face, my eyebrows, my mustache. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll get back into that here in a little bit.
Hmm.
As we talk about those
Just
two
curious. Yeah.
films, but no, I have not. But we can talk about what we're going to be doing for the month of July, which is kind of exciting. I
Yeah, that's
think.
kind of how we led into this because we were looking at some pretty hefty movies to like center our episode around, but then we're like, you know what? We kind of miss those like really empty, fun movies. They're just horror shenanigans, for lack of a better term. Just like a fun little thrill ride, like the PG-13 horror, which I think this is R though because of the gore. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
it's not like brutal or it's not a heavy horror movie at all. And what brought us to thinking about that is next month, which we're actually in like 2 days now.
Hmm.
I don't know when this is dropped, but like the Fear Street trilogy starts on Netflix, which we're both really excited about. Did you read the Fear Streets when you were younger?
A little bit. Read more Goosebumps.
I read more Fear Streets, like because I think Goosebumps was a little after my time. Like I think I was a little too old for them when they started getting dropped. Maybe not. Maybe I just was introduced to them. But I read a few Fear Streets, when, not a lot, but a few when I was younger, like early high school, I think, maybe middle school.
Well, so that makes sense because you're a couple years older than me. So I would have been like when Goosebumps was coming out, it would probably been a little too kiddie for you, whereas
Yeah.
Fear Street was a little too old for me. And then by the time I was old enough to read it, I was like, "Fuck this shit, Pabst Blue Ribbon."
Yeah,
So
that's a horror story.
yeah,
PBR.
yes,
Hams.
but yeah, Netflix is doing a 3-part. I'm not really sure. I think it's just a trilogy. I think there's 3 separate movies.
Yeah.
Um,
But they're connected somehow, like it's some witch thing. I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. So part 1 comes out this week, July 2nd, called 1994. Part 2 is the week after, called 1978. And then the final part is called 1666.
Which is quite a jump. Like,
yeah.
they go back like 20 years, and then all of a sudden, bam, we're going back hundreds of years.
Well, so we're gonna dive into those films every week. So going forward, it's gonna be like you can hang out with us every week and talk or listen to us chat about Fear Street and our old men opinions that don't matter.
Yeah, we can all be teens again and talk about like, our little horror teen novels.
Yeah, I'm excited. The early word is that the first part is very good. So I'm excited, for a new slasher.
Me too. And I mean, a lot of people didn't care for Honeymoon, the director's debut, but I actually liked it quite a bit. So.
Oh, it's that director. So is it the same director of all of them?
I didn't actually look, but I assumed because I think they filmed them all at the same time.
That's
so
all. Can you imagine? That's a whole lot of work. I actually really
Yeah.
did like Honeymoon quite a bit. They directed
Which this
all
doesn't.
3 parts.
This looks like it. I also looked up, and she also did some of the Scream television series, which I haven't seen. But this looks like it might be more in line with whatever that was. Like it's more Screamish and teen fun, like slasher back, kind of what we're going to talk about, like the late '90s, early aughts when the House of Wax and such were coming out.
Where you can have a little more fun. It doesn't have to be so heavy.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So we're going to be tackling that throughout the month of July. So our first episode will be next week, and then we will do. I guess we will, and then we'll be because they come out every Friday. So next week we'll talk about part 1, then we'll talk about part 2, part 3, and then who the fuck knows what we're going to do at the end of the month. Maybe we'll do the Goosebumps movies because I've never seen the second one, but I actually quite liked the first one.
Yeah, I did too.
It's a good
I saw
level
it with my
film.
kids. Yeah. So like, anytime I can intro my kids into horror, then I'm down. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun from what I remember.
Yeah, the first one I did enjoy. So we can maybe revisit those and do a whole R.L. Stine month.
Yeah.
Or maybe even better, we do the first Goosebumps movie because I did enjoy it quite a bit. I would do both those films, and then maybe did you ever watch any of the Goosebumps TV show or the movies?
No, I didn't.
So the Haunted Mask was like I think that was like either elongated. It was 2-part episodes, but they released on a tape with both parts as like a feature film basically. I think we can watch it online. Maybe we should watch.
It's gotta be on YouTube or something.
Yeah, maybe we can watch one of those. Oh, Amazon has it, so maybe we can watch one of those episodes. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but we'll do an R.L. Stine, kind of have some fun because that's what summer is. Summer is getting into horror, hanging out with your friends, covering yourself in the sheet with a flashlight, pretending to read.
Mm-hmm. Pretending to read. What did you do under there? I just read.
Oh, I don't know what I was doing. I playing a Game Boy. I'm not really sure. And then I have a couple other things for you if you'd like. Some
Sure.
quick since we're doing news now. I have some quick things I could throw your way since our last time. Very exciting. There's going to be 4K releases of. Okay, so I've never seen one of these films, but I really enjoyed the first film, and I will buy this because I believe it's a 2-pack. But Synapse, who did the awesome Suspiria restoration a couple of years ago, is going to be releasing in the U.S., which was already released in the U.K. by Arrow, Demons and Demons 2.
Ooh, yeah, I've never seen Demons 2.
No, I mean, I love Demons. Oh, yeah, it looks like they will be on the same disc. But I love Demons. It's just so fucking insane. And I've actually always heard good things about Demons 2, so that's coming this October from Synapse.
Ooh, nice. I'm into it.
And then
we'll have a watch party.
Yeah, hell yeah, we will. And then we have confirmed by Jason Blum that he's going to be making or producing the next Exorcist film, which apparently earlier this year, David Gordon Green, who did the new Halloween films, he was attached to as a director, but I don't know if that's exactly true. But the premise is going to be similar to the Halloween, where it's going to go from the events of the first film.
So are they erasing Exorcist 3 then? Because that was actually pretty solid.
Well, he says, and I quote, "I want to make a movie for people that know and love the first film and are furious that we're doing this, but somehow drag themselves to the theater. I want them to come out happy. I want to make a movie that people who've never heard of The Exorcist, which is nobody, really enjoys." He says, "I think David did that with Halloween, and I think he'll do that with The Exorcist." So while it's been nowhere else confirmed that he's directing it, it seems that Jason Blum basically said that he is, which is interesting. So did they shot both the new Halloween kills and ends back to back, right?
That's what I've heard.
Okay, because that makes sense that we've had the last year of just him able to do post and reshoots, so I'm guessing he's ready to jump into this soon. The Exorcist is kind of surprising. Like, you don't remake that movie, and you probably don't even need any of the same characters. You could just do another. I mean, how many other movies about exorcisms have we seen over the years?
Lots.
I mean, and some are really good, and some are not good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It always has promise. I mean, you throw a demon in possession, you're starting off on a strong foot.
Well, and you don't really the TV show, which is actually not terrible, that they did that had Linda Blair in it, actually wasn't bad, but kind of follows up with the story. And if you wanted to answer questions from that first film, it kind of does that. So I don't know if you don't really need to do which the new Halloween did with the old Halloween. So you don't really need to do that with The Exorcist, in my opinion, because the TV show kind of already did that.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I don't know. This is, to me, like, I'll give it a shot because I love these movies and I love horror movies, but it doesn't interest me and it doesn't excite me. I'd rather see him tackle some new property, some new idea, instead of like piggybacking on this stuff. It just doesn't interest me that much because it's not in the same. Like, Halloween's a little different because how many slashers have we redone? It's kind of that genre's go-to is like we just keep bringing them back. They keep coming back. Like, so yeah, let's do it again. Why not? But Exorcist is kind of different than that, and I don't really need to see any more from that universe, I guess. But who knows? Could be wrong. They just said the quote. They wanted me to come see it and be like surprised. Maybe they'll surprise me.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed, because I'm right there with you. I don't know what we really. Like I said, there's been plenty of other exorcism movies that are good that aren't called The Exorcist. So a lot of it just seems like it's using the name. I would much rather see Jason Blum tackle Nightmare on Elm Street and bring that franchise back. I think that's one that has so much more potential to explore, even outside of like Freddy Krueger, just the idea of dream demons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Let's make some Nightmare on Jones Street or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just like so much potential. Like, you can just take that concept. Like, we don't need any more Freddy necessarily, although you could certainly reboot that. in a way. That's one that could be remade. I think that's modern and interesting. That's not like what they did in 2010 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't like the other remake was terrible. Like the Nightmare remake.
Yeah, horrible.
That was just bad.
I would say that's the worst remake of all of them.
I don't know. The Texas Chainsaw remake is one of my least favorite things too. But
yeah, but at least it's like fine. It just hits like it just doesn't do much with characters, but at least it gets like the tone of the movie correct.
I guess I feel like the Nightmare remake made me really mad because it introduced a couple of interesting things that you could see the nugget of it being really good, and they just kept fucking it up, and it just kind of really disappointed me by the end of it, because it's like it'd start walking to this interesting part when you're watching, you're like, oh, oh no, they fucked it up, and then it happened a couple times.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this could be oh no, it's not.
Yeah, I was really excited for that, and that was just like there's and maybe it was just like a lot of studio interference. It was a first-time filmmaker, first feature filmmaker at least. He did a bunch of music videos, but it just was kind of all over the place and had like some great things, but then like it just took the mystery all out of Freddy, but also at the same time in a way tried to make you feel sympathy for him, which was weird, and it was just But then there were some great sequences like the diner sequence where he's reappearing and disappearing, and she's like falling in and out of sleep. That was cool. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a franchise that has more to offer when you're looking at like what's available that hasn't been done. Of course, Friday the 13th. I did like the remake. I think it's it's good.
I did too.
And I think like you don't have to make a sequel to that movie. You could just make another Friday the 13th like they were doing in the 80s. And the dangling winter Camp Crystal Lake that they've kept over us is like, just fucking do it, man. That's all anybody wants, to see the bloodshed. And
I know.
That's all we want.
White snow.
But I know the rights are all a clusterfuck there. So, but at least, okay.
Ice.
Yeah. We're getting a new Halloween, 2 of those. We're getting an Exorcist. We're getting a new Scream.
Yeah. And Scream I'm hesitant about too, because, Wes isn't here anymore. But the people attached to that, I liked their last movie a lot, so let's give it a roll.
I like all their movies. I like the Radio Silence guys.
Yeah. Well, it's just, the Ready or Not was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, so. And it's the same couple writers, but I like their segments in Southbound and VHS. I thought those were good.
Yeah. You're right.
I think that it'll be interesting. But they also made that kind of bad movie that maybe, I can't remember if we saw this or not, but I feel like you and I saw this movie called Devil's Due in the theaters together.
I think we did, yeah. Because we hadn't heard of it, and we just were like, this is one we haven't seen.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure...
Wasn't that the...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it. Is it the...
I'm almost certain you and I went and watched this movie. I can't remember a single fucking thing from it, but I'm almost certain we went and watched this. 2014, This sounds like... Yeah, but everyone makes a bad movie every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's flawless.
It's amazing that anyone makes a good movie, considering the path that it takes, how long it takes, and how many people get their hands in. And it's amazing anything comes out great. So many ways for things to trip and fall.
Speaking of tripping and falling, I heard you have a news story this week.
I have a couple. I think I'm going to start. I was just thought I'd dip our toe in the wax here and talk about. Before we get into the movie, just talk. I was wondering, because have you ever been to a wax museum?
No, I've never been to a wax museum. Well, no, I've never been. No, I'm trying to think if I've seen wax figures in other museums, but I've never been to a specific one. So I've been to all the cities that have them, like Vegas and LA, and weirdly.
I've walked by them.
Yeah, but do they interest you? Well, okay, I think you're similar to me. You don't really care about most celebrity things.
Yeah, it's not even a celebrity. I don't know. I don't really understand the draw, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't want to go look at a statue of a famous person that's made out of clay.
Well, do you think are they always going to have wax museums, or are we going to start 3D printing stuff?
Ooh, like holographic.
Yeah.
Or you mean just print it out where they don't?
Yeah, don't just print it out.
Like holograms. I guess we could, because they could.
I mean, you and I will not do it, but will people just be printing them?
It could. You just pay Johnny Depp 10 grand to stand in a tube for a while, and they like scan them, and then you just print them out like perfectly, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So maybe, but again, what's the draw? Like, oh look, there's a not Johnny Depp. I understand it. Like I've seen, I don't know if they're wax or not, but like the figures when you walk through like historical sites and historical like houses, and when they have people like standing there like they're cooking dinner and stuff. Like I see the draw of that. You're just recreating the day of pioneers or whatever. But why go to like a place where there's just famous people standing awkwardly that don't really look right? I never really got it.
Yeah, well, and some of them do look really good. I've seen some like offhandedly, like in random places. I'm like, oh, it looks great, but it is like.
Do you think some people go, because you've seen like the pranks where like Arnold Schwarzenegger's standing there pretending to be a wax figure and then like scares people, like the publicity thing? Do you think people just go in the hopes that there'll be a celebrity there pranking people?
Maybe.
Because that would be cool. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger dressed up as the Terminator going, hasta la vista. I'm like, whoa. I think that's the hope.
Is that the dream? Is the dream that just happens?
Yeah, I think that's why anyone goes. They're just hoping, crossing their fingers.
Just really hoping that like the real Arnold is actually there.
Yeah.
Is that in a movie, or that prank does happen?
I think it's usually done for like press or something. I don't think it's in a movie, but I've seen like clips of it. I remember Arnold did do it. I think he was dressed up as the Terminator. I remember seeing this clip somewhere.
I actually hate that. But well, celebrity's always been weird. So, but wax museums, I'm guessing in my head they're nothing but like famous people of history or famous people of entertainment. I don't know the history of it. Do you know the history of wax museums?
Yeah, well, I didn't before this, but I thought we should get into it since we're talking about a movie based on that, basically.
Yeah, let's.
And they like it started off a little darker, just like everything else in human history. Like it wasn't just like a fun thing to go see. It goes back to the early 18th century, and it was like effigies of royalty and other figures exhibited by their tombs. Like that's what it was. Like so you could see like what the dead people look like. They're standing over their own tombs. Before that, even though, before they like put them up on display, apparently, like during the Middle Ages, the habit was to carry the corpse, fully dressed on top of the coffin to their funeral. Like you'd like do the procession with the corpse on top so everybody could see it. But it was like hot, and embalming wasn't what we have now, so it got a little like bloaty and gross. So they stopped doing that and put the bodies in the coffin and made like wax figures to put on top. And so they'd carry wax figures with the person's real clothes on. But that's how it all started. So basically, it's just for dead people, like so you can still look at the dead people. I've seen here like royalty. Where is that? I forgot. But like just until recently, they had them in Westminster Abbey, like the museum part of it, where all the royal wax effigies, like all the dead people that they had wax like cast out of, were there in that place. Early 19th century until then, so like not too long ago, and then they just removed because everyone realized that's a little creepy, I think. But from there they went on in like France and stuff, and the people would start sculpting royal people, and you could go see what like the king of France looked like, or like that, and then Madame Tussauds, of course, which is I think the only real wax museum now, and they're all over the place. They started in 1835 in London, and they started doing like famous people. Well, that's where it started.
There is more wax museums than that, because there's like bullshit ones and like those are like the creepy ones.
Yeah,
right? They're the creepy ones that like they don't look quite right. They look like, I don't know, they're not like the Madame Tussauds ones are like do look pretty good.
And do they have to have like permission, or can you just show like anybody? Like, is your likeness copyright written?
That's a good question. I don't know, because this is a weird circumstance, right? You're not like selling a T-shirt; you're selling admission to see a fake version of yourself.
Yeah, but like, I don't know if that's within like some kind of like, do they have to call it like the Beatles instead of the Beatles or something, or the Beatles? Like, come see the Beatles.
The Beatles.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question.
The other thing I had before we really hop in, this is from very recent news, and it kind of shows you like a little bit how, like in the movie, people get a little worked up and emotional over wax figures. Like it elicits real feelings, and you can see why people would really get into this because in San Antonio, like the Donald Trump wax figure had to be removed because everyone kept scratching and punching it. So it just got destroyed. People just attack it, and they just had to remove it and take it out. But apparently it's not just Donald Trump. In the past, like anyone who didn't politically agree, like Barack Obama's apparently got his ears ripped off quite a few times. People just attack the presidents. So
Which
people
is-
get really
Which is so weird, right? Like that, like you get. I don't know. I've never been motivated. Like I said, I guess neither of us are like motivated by like celebrities or even like public figures. So we just kind of like defacing something is just like a zero for me. Like it just it's not of interest at all.
There is one here that I kind of understand. In like 2008, Madame Tussauds in Berlin had a wax figure of Adolf Hitler beheaded. I kind of get that one.
Yeah, that's pretty fun though.
Yeah, let's behead Trump. I mean, not. Ooh.
Wow.
Don't come after me. Whoa.
Real.
Those two are like linked in my mind. I think. Let's behead Hitler. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I meant.
Yeah, the truth comes out, Eric. Yeah,
Whoopsie.
but yeah, so wax museums are curiosities, and it makes sense that, especially when you look at, well, the mystery of the wax museum says it was originally made in 1933, pre-code mystery horror film directed by Michael Curtis.
Ah.
Fay Wray was in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's.
So it's not a 50s film?
I thought it was a 50s film, so I'm looking very quickly because I didn't do any research on that particular film because I had not seen it. Looking. This movie was one of the last films using the two-color Technicolor process. Interesting.
Ooh.
Both
Cool.
Warner Brothers films. I'm trying to see here because it doesn't appear. Well, it appears The House of Wax was a remake of that film in 1953.
Oh, okay.
So Mystery of the Wax Museum was the original film of this series, if you will, I guess. And it made
Gotcha.
It made $1.1 million in 1933. The premise of that one is Ivan Igor is a sculptor who operates a wax museum in 1921 in London. He gives a private tour to a friend and an investor, showing them sculptures of Joan of Arc, Marie Antoinette, and others. Formerly a stone sculptor who did wax modeling as a hobby, he explains he turned wax sculpting completely because he felt more satisfied that he could reproduce the warmth, flesh, and blood of life better in wax than he could in stone. And then I'm guessing business is failing, so people's blah blah blah. So the premise is actually kind of would be a decent prequel for this. It looks like his partner burns down the museum for insurance money. Igor is trapped inside. Years later, he reemerges in New York as the curator of a new wax museum, which boasts incredibly lifelike statues. When a model goes missing, reporter Florence Dempsey follows the clues to the museum, where she discovers a terrible secret. That's kind of a cool little setup. So that could be a little bit of a prequel to the House of Wax that we know. Then the 1953 one,
or something.
Yeah, the 1953 one, of course, stars Vincent Price because he was in every fucking movie at the time. This movie was also in 3D. Does that excite you?
3D wax.
3D wax, baby. This movie made a shit ton of money. It made $23 million based on a $1 million budget.
Nice.
It also
Go Vincent.
Yeah. So originally it was the first 3D movie in stereophonic sound.
I also just put it together that in the 2005 film we're about to discuss, the bad guys, one of the bad guys' name is Vincent. That's a nice little nod.
Yep.
So,
I caught that too.
Before I forget to say that.
I caught that too, Eric. It's not just you.
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Okay.
I was there.
The film is a similar idea. an associate burns down the wax museum with the owner inside. He survives only to become vengeful, spirit or vengeful man, I guess. I'm trying to see if he's actually if any of these are encasing people in wax, but I don't think they are. I think these are just like wax people that are like sculptors with museums, and then so I don't think they're doing anything crazy. I'm reading.
I thought they were trapping people.
No, yeah.
There's also
they are. Okay,
also,
and at least in the 53
they are,
one, they are wax-coated corpses that are stolen from the morgue. That's why they're so lifelike. So he's not killing people. He's stealing corpses and turning them into these.
Which is kind of how the wax museum thing started from our little history here.
Yeah, well, and then similar, this guy wears a wax mask over his face to conceal his disfigured face. So, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so that's and then he gets knocked into a vat of wax. So it's a little bit more like of the times, but it did make a shit ton of money, and the re-release also happened in 1971. And it's in the Library of Congress, so it's a culturally historical, significant piece of art, that 1953 masterpiece. And that takes us to the 2005 remake of a remake, House of Wax, from the writers Chad and Carrie Hayes, who did the Conjuring films. This was an early film of theirs. And then from the director of what have they done?
Oh god, something else he did.
Orphan's the big one.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
And the Shallows I liked. Oh, they're doing the forthcoming Jungle Cruise from Disney. So
they're still working.
Yeah, they've had a pretty good career. They did Unknown, Nonstop, Run All Night, and The Commuter. So a lot of action films after this. So let's dive into this sucker here. It's produced by Robert Zemeckis and Joel Silver. So I think that also will set the tone of kind of what the vibe is, because they don't really make films quite like this anymore. This was certainly like a post-Scream film, but also like entering into the remake territory of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Amityville Horror, and those films of the early mid 2000s.
Yeah.
It was a Warner Brothers film made for $40 million, and it made $70 million. Pretty wild.
That's not great.
And
that's not huge profit margin though, right? In the world of movies.
No, it's got abysmal reviews for the time. And I think when you understand, when you watch it now, I think it's a better movie than it was then, because I do remember not liking this movie.
Yeah, I remember despising it. I remember seeing it in the theater and being like, just done. I didn't like anything about it. I remember that.
Yeah, which is why I kind of I don't know why I wanted to rewatch it. I know, well, it's getting a remaster that comes out next month, and I've heard from other people that no, it's actually pretty good to rewatch it. And going back, there are some like stylistic things that are just kind of like very 2005. Similar when you watch like Saw or something. They have those very early 2000s like kind of music video cuts and stuff. But this is pretty good. It's got like a classic slasher setup of kids on a road trip.
Yeah, every like wrong turn. I'm trying to think of other like the same setup.
They're on their way to like a football game. And somewhere in Louisiana, and they have to stop in the backwoods, as you always have to. And they're partying, and then some creep in a pickup truck shows up in the middle of the night. And then
Which, by the way, they have the nicest tents ever caught on film.
Yeah.
They have like the executive tents. I'm like, who set these up for one night? They're like, like what royalty get when they go on their little trips. They have like porches, and I've never seen tents like these.
Yeah, no, I
guess
not.
Paris Hilton demanded like the Hilton suites.
Yeah, her character specifically needs the Hilton tent situation. So you got these teens that are going to this football game. They decide to camp because they're not going to get there, which is kind of funny when you just like, most of these setups, if you just like think about them a little bit, you're like, that doesn't really make sense. Because like if you and I were going on a road trip to go to this football game tomorrow, we would leave and go nonstop, or we would leave earlier so that we have plenty of time to get there. But they're in such a hurry that they they're like, oh, I can't believe we have to stop, and so they stop, and that's why the movie happens. Had they just left because presumably they're only a couple hours away from where they're at currently.
Oh yeah, they show the GPS at the beginning, and it's like a 2-hour, 52-minute drive.
Yeah, had they just left
and
2 more hours earlier, they would have easily they wouldn't have had to camp.
And why'd they pack the executive tents if they were only going on a 2-hour drive?
I have no idea. I think it's just so so silly. Like that, but again, that's just like it doesn't matter. Let's just get. I mean, it happens so quick. I mean, they are camping in 10 minutes probably.
Yeah,
they're busted out camping, and then the car comes by and creeps them out. And then when they wake up, one of their fan belts are broke, so they need to go into the town. And that's what sets them.
Don't forget the nasty smell.
Oh, the nasty smell that's radiating the area that is a bunch of animal carcasses. But then that gets everybody on their ways, their separate ways, because you have a brother and a sister, which are pretty much the main characters here, and then the rest are just like friends that are couples for the most part.
I do think I want to underline this because I think I'll forget later. It's clumsily executed, but I can see the version of the script where this is clever because, spoiler for where we're going, but the bad guys are twins, and then the brother and sister here are twins, and there's the bad one and the good one and the bad one and the good one. The parallel there was you could kind of failed here a little bit, it's a little silly, but I could see where somewhere there was a draft where that was a clever parallel.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that attempt.
Oh, and I forgot.
Never really.
How did I forget the opening sequence? Because the opening sequence is the most 2005 thing. It's very much here's your villain, and it's like Rob Zombie's Halloween. Here is the origin stories of the villains. So before we even get to the story, you're given all the information you know to why these characters are gonna eventually grow up to be bad guys. Which is I think pretty funny, and then you get kind of a cool little credit sequence telling the story.
And it's a really dark background story, but it's filmed in such a early 2000s glossy way. It never feels I don't want to say bad because it's definitely bad, but it doesn't feel threatening. You're oh, that's kind of silly. I don't know, the way it's filmed doesn't feel as dark as what it should, considering it involves child abuse. It just feels almost like a fairy tale almost. It doesn't feel like it's a real child getting abused like you would think in a horror movie.
Yeah, I think kind of. I don't know. Kind it's very 2005. I don't know how else to explain it. And you very when you look at the soundtrack, the good thing of 95 to 2008 movies is that they were still spending money on soundtracks because you could sell CDs and stuff, and so you get pretty cool soundtracks in that time frame, whether they actually fit in the movie or not. And a lot of times you end up with at least one eye roll sequence, which in this one for me is the bad guy turns on his radio tape, I believe, and it's a Marilyn Manson song.
Yeah,
and it's just
exactly.
It's such an eye roll. Of course, at the time, the studio's oh, and he turns it on, and they use Marilyn Manson, of course.
They live in the middle of nowhere in this abandoned town, but he went and got the latest Manson tape.
Mm-hmm.
But he does rock out to some Manson. I roll my eyes at that too.
I also like how these credit sequences, once the last thing happens, the movie's just over and it immediately cuts to a song, and it's just right into a song. There's no gradual anything. It's just credits song. And in this one we get Helena from My Chemical Romance. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So they all go their separate ways. Two of them are going into town to find a new fan belt for the car so they can get on the road to the football game before it's too late. And then and this is when things get kind of weird, right?
Well, the other four go on to the football game. They're just come pick us up when you're done because we got to fix my car.
Well, they decide not to go, though.
Because traffic jam.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, that scene is pointless. They might as well just have waited because they go and come back in one sequence.
Again, it's silly, but you can see a version of the script where that's actually a clever play on these movies because usually they do all stick together and end up in this thing. And that they separated and did all this stuff and left. I don't know. It felt like it was so close to being clever. the beginning of this, you can see the beats where they're playing against like those horror trope types. Like they actually kind of do the smart thing, but then it just kind of like stumbles and falls apart. I will say I sound like I'm hated this movie. I didn't. It was a lot of fun. Like I had a lot more fun with it yesterday than I did in the theater, because it's just light and kind of fun and silly as these movies can get anyway.
Yeah, this kind of actually feels a little bit more like My Bloody Valentine, I think, for me.
Yeah.
And the like the vengeful story, and like, or even like the original Friday or Friday 2 maybe, like these, this horrible story of Bo and Vincent, the twins, which we get their story of conjoined twins. But you get these characters that looking for anything at this now is a kind of a pristine ghost town, which used to be a big tourist spot for Trudy's House of Wax. Is that a hint of Madame Trousseau's?
Oh yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
super subtle.
Super subtle. And then and of course they don't see anything, and they get bad information that separates them.
Yeah, and I'll give this movie credit too, because when they're going through the town, when that couple gets there, and they're seeing like the lady open the curtain, and they're going to that church, and it's the funeral service. Like once I saw that, I remembered the quote unquote twist of everybody being wax figures, but the way they shot it and the way it is, like that was well done. Like to be a reveal later, like to not really notice it at first.
I totally did not remember it this time. I was like, oh yeah, there is a weird town. But I didn't remember that like the entire fucking town is set up, which is actually pretty fucking cool.
I thought so.
So yeah, they initially walk in, they hear church music playing, they walk into church and they see a funeral service, and one of the guys like, "How dare you come here?" and shoos them away, and basically comes back and coolly tells them, where they can get help by going up to the house where his brother is. I think is what they say. Of course, that's a lie, and then they find out that it's the same truck from last night, who's the creep that was watching him, but it's a little too late because Bo, the brother number 2, who now wears a wax mask.
You got it backwards. That's Vincent.
Oh, you're right, Vincent. Yeah, wears the mask to cover his face, comes out and just knocks it. It's actually that sequence is this movie kept surprising me. I was like, oh, this is a great actual sequence where he's trying not to. He's actually fighting back, but he's cornered, and like everyone actually does a decent job of fighting back. And when the power goes out, I think that was a cool little sequence. And had it been done today with digital cameras, I think you'd get a little bit more moody film. That's the one complaint I have, is it's pretty bright all the time.
Well, I do like when the first kill happens, the boyfriend, like the way they shot that, where it looked like they just used like a handheld and like one light that was above it, and it kind of captured.
Oh, from his POV kind of. Yeah.
And then like right in his face, it was like a Silence of the Lambs / the ending of Wreck kind of vibe, and I thought that was really well shot.
Yeah, no, I liked that sequence quite a bit. I was shocked how good it was, that first kill. And then we get the whole process of him. He, as you said, he waxes his face. He takes all of his hair off his body. I mean, it's actually like shockingly thought out for this like kind of what should be a kind of a dumbass movie. And then we watch this man get turned into a wax sculpture while he's alive, which is just crazy. Yeah. But we see the whole process, and then which is pretty cool. And his girlfriend, who's the main character, Carly, played by Elisha Cuthbert, she is trying to call everybody else, let them know that the car they saw last night is here, and they're in trouble. Of course, they're not answering because they're being college kids having some sex. Yeah. And
I think 90% of Paris Hilton's screen time is her making out with someone.
Mm-hmm. So, and then I think like pretty quickly, her brother comes there because they've been gone too long, right?
Well, they finally, like before everything goes down, they get a hold of them and say, "Meet us at this town." Like
right. That's before they're
there to
Yep. So they show up and go ahead.
No, like he and his friend show up to like grab them, but they can't find them anywhere because they're already the boyfriend, as we said, died, and now she's got caught by Bo, the guy with the truck, and he's super glued her mouth shut, and she's all tied down and stuff.
Which again, she does a good job of like fighting back and like almost winning that sequence. Like, which I was surprised. Like everybody does, you know, they don't really succeed, but they do get a good fight in every which way. And she actually
That's
gets
what
loose.
I mean. Yeah,
she does get loose.
This movie, yeah.
And when she
like,
pulls her lips apart, fuck.
Yeah, and I mean, they do stupid things, but like you can tell where they're trying to subvert like the character doing the stupid thing that gets made fun of in Scream.
Yeah,
they do fight back pretty well and succeed. Like, it's not just their normal like, oh, they're being stupid again, you know.
Well, and then they find the boyfriend who is what we saw get covered in wax. He's sitting there at a piano and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then this is when we get the confirmation that, you know, the timeline on this is a little wonky because he's just fucking churning these characters out.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, he is nonstop working throughout this film. But he's sitting there and you see his eyes move, so he's still alive, and he tries to peel off it and it just rips his whole face off, and it's really cool effect. And then he dodges Vincent coming back out and trying to hit him with like a pipe or something, and it just rips his whole face off. You see his mouth and stuff. It's a
wax face.
great practical effects here. And he does a good fight too. He gets to the point where he's like fighting, throwing plates, and then he gets like, oh no, a staircase, and he's like, that's when he's like, he doesn't try to beg until that point. He just says, wait, and then he just gets nailed. I do like that he's just like trying to, he doesn't like say like no please or anything. He just says wait, and then just gets railed. And then he gets his head cut off, right?
Yeah,
with some scissors. Yeah, which is a cool sequence.
Yeah, it's a little reference to that. What is that? The other slasher, the 80s
Burning?
slasher with the. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And then they find him later with his own, like, his head's not fully put on. He like tries to make him back to normal.
He's like, let's get you out of this trap, and his head just falls off.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty well acted dramatic scene from both the brother and sister.
Like, especially him, like the way he reacts, because that was his friend, and like the actor really sells it. Like, it could be really silly, but you can like see him like all the emotion go across his face, and he's like almost losing consciousness and puking. Like, he just has this moment where what would we all be like? If I found you with your head like hanging off, that's probably would be my exact reaction.
I think
screaming.
I was shocked. I was like, wow, he's just acting his dick off right here.
Exactly.
And you know what I wish they would have done with the Paris Hilton and the other two characters I'm trying to see. It's Blake and Paige. I wish instead of them just like staying at the tent and having sex, I wish they would have actually made it to the game. And every time it cuts back to them, they're just having a blast. Like, and then they come back later and like, you know, find everything in chaos. I think that would have been a better use, but because how it is it just feels like it's a body count thing.
Yeah, it is, because they don't contribute anything to this film except for body count.
Yeah, and I think that they could have probably found a different way to increase the body count by like other people already being there.
That felt like, not to insult her, but like she's not an actress, and like her presence in this film felt very like studio exec decision. Like, 'cause she's not a good actress in it. Like, she's not terrible, but she's not good. And then a lot of it's just watching her make out and ogling like in her lingerie and stuff. The camera is like dwelling on her butt for way too long and stuff. It just felt very like icky that she was even in this, and she was kind of being manipulated for her like public persona, I think, in this. Like it just felt very marketing to me.
Yeah, I think she does. What is fun is, okay, so you know, they don't have sex. They almost have sex, which is kind of very studio. Like the whole scene feels like, you're right, that this was to sell the movie in a certain way. And Vincent kills Blake at the campsite like very quickly. He gets the voicemail and learns, and then immediately gets killed. In kind of a funny way of like, he just wants the music on and like he won't have sex and go further without it, which is I'm like, I can relate. I like that. And then of course that he listens to his voicemail and then he gets killed, and then she wakes up and there's Vincent there, and she puts up a very good fight, I would say. She gets all the way to town.
Yeah. And
her death is pretty gnarly, but like it's almost a little standalone short film in that piece of like, I mean, it's probably a good 10 or 15 minutes of her on the run fighting Vincent, trying to survive. And it's cool, like,
I don't know if it's
it's kind of cool because like he ends up cutting her foot, and that's how he finds her, is like he's tracking the blood on the ground. I was like, oh, this is great. They're actually showing the killer like do Batman work and find the people, and that
It's
worked.
the second time he goes after someone's Achilles.
Yeah.
He's got a method.
I do like
He
when
knows how to-
the first guy gets his Achilles, right? Wade gets his Achilles cut, and he's still like he's trying to walk on it, but he's just like falling back. That sequence is crazy. An Achilles cut will never be good for me.
No, on screen it always makes
Always
it's
a
one
winner.
of those things that still gets me. Like,
But she loses, of course. Like she like is trying to find out where he is, and she's lifting her head up, and she's hiding behind a car. And then he's on the other side of the car, and he grabs this piece of like rebar or something or pipe, and he throws it fucking. This is the silliest moment in the movie, but it is a cool kill. He throws it through both windows and directly through her head. She falls down, and like her head slowly moving down the pipe, and it's a cool kill.
That's a lot. That's like a Jason Voorhees power kill.
Yeah, I'm like, what is the velocity of that pipe he threw?
Seriously.
But it is a cool kill, and then of course, like, there's like a weird like One Night in Paris nod where like the only time he does is he takes the camera, which is like very mini DV night vision-y, and like films her weirdly dying or falling. Just a weird thing. But then from here on, it's kind of okay. Now we get the last two characters, the brother and sister versus the two brothers, and they know what's going on, and they're basically just trying to get out alive.
And it's just the battle.
And they do
takes
a
place.
great job like using the resources. He remembers seeing the army store, and he goes and gets the crossbow. Yeah, and then there's a cool little scene in the movie theater that I also love that like they like flip up, turn the whole town on, which is just like this famous like studio town. I believe it's the same one that they use in Phantoms, and you can see like the outskirts identical. You've seen this town a million fucking times, but they flip it on, and of course like somebody's got threaded up what happened to Baby Jane in the projector. It just comes on, of course. Like no one knows how like movie projectors work, but I like this for the aesthetics and trying to hide a bunch of these corpses. And they give a good battle here, and they actually use smarts of like they shoot him. He shoots him a couple of times at them with a shotgun, and they run out, and he chases them. And then they do the right thing, which is just wait for him to come through the door and shoot his ass with the crossbow. Which I was just like, that's fucking awesome. Like that's good writing. Like there's those surprises I think keep it going, and then you get some silly stuff like he survives and goes back to the house, and they're waiting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they shot him through the heart. By the way.
They fully fucking shot him through the heart and through the arm, and he goes to the house and he's like limping. He like pulls the fucking arrow all the way through his arm, which is like a cool thing to watch. But like you're like, is he gonna throw up or pass out at this point? Because he's gonna, But of course he's able to fight really well for the rest of the movie until he dies. But yeah, he does have an arrow through his heart.
I think the silliest part of this is how they win. It's like the kiln or whatever, the wax melter just goes like it start a fire, and the whole place is, the house of wax is literally a house of wax.
I actually love that, and I somehow forgot.
I do,
that
but it's so
happened.
silly. Like,
oh yeah,
how did this not happen? Like how did he not just like overcook wax once and burn down his house?
Yeah,
like, it seems like a disaster waiting to happen.
Well, presumably all you had to do was dump out the wax and then burn the house down, which doesn't even make sense. Like, I mean, it happened so quick that they were like, "Does this make sense?" They're like, "Oh, it's gonna happen so quick, no one's gonna really notice." But all they needed to do is like make it so like the fire in the pipes or whatever, it's gas or something, and just make it so fire's coming out rather than molten wax, which doesn't make any fucking sense. But it does happen so quick that it doesn't really matter. And
it's really fun. Like it's really cool shot, like that they're walking through melting wax.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
In the house and stuff.
It's
I love that part.
Yeah, but it's so inventive, and actually the CG works pretty well because almost every really sequence like it looks great. It doesn't look bad, but
the shot like I loved. That it's not like subtle, but it was a nice little touch, is the death of the brothers when they fall through the floor and they land in the position that they were born in when they were like Siamese twins. Mm-hmm. Like they get melted back together like they were when they were born. I thought that was a really nice like directorial touch.
Yeah, which is like, was that in the script? Maybe not. Again, there may be like a version of the script, because you're talking about two writers that are very good writers and established
Yeah,
now.
for sure. Yeah.
And this was, I think, let me look here real quick. This was House of Wax. So prior to this, they had only done TV work, it looks like. So they didn't have, this is their first film, so they had the least, abilities here. But they're smart writers.
Experience, at least.
And I'm guessing there's a slightly different script that kind of fills in those holes and gets rid of some of the clunky stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we get a peek at it. Like it does feel like some of the stuff that doesn't work is so against the clever things that are in here that you can see that there was like uncredited rewrites and stuff based on marketing and executive.
But the director still pulls it off. He knows like when it's silly to make it fun, really fun, or really gory.
Sure.
And they're all, when we get to the end, the whole house is melting. You're seeing all these figures and they're melting, and there's different levels of like how long they've been encapsulated in the wax. There's like ones that are just like dust basically. There's ones that are like just rotten flesh with bugs in them. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, I think that there's a lot of thought into how those different designs went.
Agreed. Yeah, some are just still bloody. It's great.
And the fight's cool. They dig their way out and through the house wax, and the cops see the smoke from the nearby town and make their way over, and we learn like, the town's been closed because the sugar mill shut down and no one had money, and everybody left, and these boys apparently just kept the town going, and there's still power to it. No one's paying the bills. All those things you don't have to think about. Yeah. And then, the worst thing is the end of the movie where she's driving an ambulance and sits up and she sees somebody comes over to the cop offhandedly is like, there's a third brother. There wasn't just two. There's a third. And then we see the guy who was kind of helpful before, with the family dog waving goodbye as they drive out, and then it's a hard cut to the My Chemical Romance song. But there's a lot of really cool stuff in this movie, and I would say most of it works more so than it does not.
I think so too. As long as you don't take it seriously or try to call it like a classic, like it's a fun movie.
I think it's as good as I don't think My Bloody Valentine is for me classic. I know some people think that. I think this is in the same spectrum of like
I would say so.
A fun slasher movie that's not necessarily perfect, but it's fun.
I think it's in the same realm as like those movies that I kind of judged harshly at the time, but looking back are probably more fun than I thought they were, like the Urban Legends and I Know What You Did Last Summer and all those like PG-13 horror movies from the time.
Yeah, well, this is firmly an R-rated movie. It's gory.
Well, just if they cut a few scenes of gore, it would be PG-13 for sure. Like, it's not heavy R, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. It's good, and I'd say absolutely worth a revisit. It's at the time, I think a lot of this film, it did make money as we said, but it got poorly reviewed, and I think much of that had to do with the Paris Hilton aspect. Like, it was peak Paris time. People wanted to hate her. And it was also peak remake time. People wanted to hate remakes. There was a lot of things going against this movie to make everyone hate it, and I think we probably fell into that hatred.
And I think and I do think there was like the studio horror film that you can see, like this one, you can see the studio directly involved trying to make most money and marketing and putting Marilyn Manson in it and all this stuff. And I think like a lot of us grew up on this really gritty horror from like the 70s and even 80s, and this stuff started coming along, and I think we weren't ready, and we were really kind of resentful for it, and we didn't give it its chance on its own. Like, it's different, but it like looking back now, it's not bad. It was just way different than what we grew up on and loved.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of revolted a little bit against it.
Well, and I think to watch it now, it makes a lot more sense. We know what movie it is. We also know it's 15. Well, this is 16 years later, and just like so much has changed. Like, I would love for studios to still make movies like this, but they don't really. It's strange. There's like really like almost indie art house horror that's become very popular in the last like decade, and then you have like kind of shitty horror films from studios that are just like they're not this good. They're like just very forgettable shitty movies. I don't know. Like, I can't even name them because they're just bad.
Yeah, I don't like to shit talk movies, but there are like a lot of studio movies that are trying to, I think, capture the gritty art house thing that's people are loving right now, but like pulling back on it because of money. And you end up with something that's neither, and it's just kind of. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily like awful. It's just boring.
Yeah, it's just I guess uninspired and boring, so it's not fun. It's just like it just kind of exists, and that's kind of the worst thing to be is like it just exists. But this was fun.
I think this. Yeah, I think if you're gonna make a studio movie and make it horror, you should just make it fun. You should do like the Marvel of horror. Just like go for it. Make a spectacle. Like
I agree.
Let the art house and indie house people make their like great horror films, and then your studio, your Popcorn Entertainment, embrace it. Go for it. Go Gonzo. Go have fun.
Yeah. Well, let's keep the fun running or rolling this month as we now go into our Fear Street series. I'm excited. Let us know if you like this new format. I like it because it's I used to be all into like following like weekly horror news, and I've kind of fallen out of the loop with that. So it is nice to like watch a trailer or just chat about this might be in production or this movie or game or book or whatever the hell is happening. Let us know if you like this new format here. You can email us at nightmarehourpod@gmail.com or get to us on any of the social media at Nightmare Hour. That's it. Yeah. Well, this one I say.
But if you hate it, don't tell us.
Yeah, don't tell.
We're into positivity.
But
you can just unsubscribe.
We're 3 weeks in a row, so keep the boat afloat and let your friends and family know to listen to this and give us some reviews or shares or what have you. But you know what? The hour may be over, but the nightmare keeps ticking. This was the Nightmare Hour podcast.
It was. This is fun. I like this.